Alright, it's been a while since I made a video here on the truck, mainly the engine, and most of that's been because I haven't been driving the truck very much as of recently, and I've got to get to that 3,000 miles to send the oil in and do another analysis, see if everything's cleaned up. But what I did want to do, I've been noticing some rough starts, and it got me to thinking, like, what didn't change when I had the engine rebuilt. And one of those things was the fuel injectors. Right, maybe 5 years ago, I replaced the fuel injectors, and I got a bad fuel injector from Rock Auto. And I say bad one, it was just a mismatched one, totally different. And it was causing me a whole lot of trouble. Well, I got that one replaced, got that fixed, and it made it a lot better. But it just got me to think a little more that maybe the fuel injectors I got, I think it was from GB Remanufacturing, weren't the best of quality, and so I'm going to take them out, inspect them. But what I did do is I bought some new injectors from 50 Motorsports. So we're going to take a look at those. I'm going to show you some details on just cost and performance, what I see so far, and then I'm going to get to replacing them and see if it makes a big difference. All right, so yeah, some more details about the actual injectors. Got them from 50 Motorsports. I think the website's pretty easy to find. Pretty much makes it look like it's a direct match as far as the injector replacement. But once I got these, I actually looked at the part number and I wrote it down. It was Adenso 23250-03010. And I just did a quick search for that, and the part number that came up that it would match, or what it would be, the application would be the 2.2 liter 5S FE Toyota engine. So that's like a 2001 model roughly is what it matched. And that, I think, so that was in the Camry, and then it also showed up as 5th and 6th generation Celica and the 3rd generation MR2. The injectors, they're rated for 330 cc and 16 ohms resistance. Assuming it looks like they did an actual flow test, and so you get right here, you get an idea at different pressures what you're going to get as far as the flow rates. You can see at 3 bar, I think that's about 45 pounds. You can just do a quick search and see what that equates to. So you get 330 cc at 3 bar, and then 3.5 is 360. And that's more about what the fuel pressure runs on my setup when it's operating, about 50 pounds. So, they're really actually probably going to deliver 360 cc. And if you had some means to increase the fuel pressure up to 4 bar, you could get up to 389. So yeah, it's nice to see that they actually test these before they send them out. So total cost out the door is $351 shipped. I paid $18 for shipping and handling to get them here this weekend so I could work on them. Also, it came with some lube to put on these seals. Mainly this is the main one here that go on the fuel injector rail, and then there's one here to go in the actual head. So I'm going to apply lube here and there. So a really good reference, and I'll try to leave a link to it, is Timmy the Toolman. I think he's got a video where he's replacing the injectors on the V6 model, which is going to be very similar. So that would give you a really good go-by on how to perform the replacement. I think some things I would mention is just taking your battery out. You don't want any kind of potential for sparks, because when you take that fuel rail off, it's inevitable you're going to get a little bit of fuel everywhere. And so when you do that and get this all replaced, it's pretty good to leave it for a few hours, let everything evaporate before you try to crank things. And it's nice to have someone there looking in the engine bay so they can see if there was any leaks. Maybe you forgot a seal or something. Keep in mind, I think I saw a video on this, or it was on Tacoma World, where someone had left the seals right here in the head, and it happens, like when you pull it out, like the seals will want to stay in and come off the injector, so it makes you wonder when some of them come off and some don't, and it makes you think you're missing a part when they're actually just seated in the head really well. I've got some videos too. I'll put a link to it where putting my engine back in, the new rebuilt engine, and I'm pretty sure I show maybe quickly how to install the injectors, and also I'll probably show how to take them out in one of the videos. The only difference is like I got a lot of parts that are already off by that point, so it's gonna be a lot easier. All right, keep this pretty straightforward. I think I'm gonna do a time lapse here at the point, not really to show how to replace the injectors, but whether it fixed my start issues where there's a rough idle at times, usually after it's been sitting a while. Sometimes it could just be a couple of hours after I turn it off. But you're just gonna have to, and mine's cold air intake, but that's another story. You're just gonna have to take off all the way up to here, up to the throttle body, because you don't want to have access to this whole fuel line. And if you see this looks different. It's a LCE adapter kit, so you can put a fuel gauge on there. So here's something that I want to zoom in here. You can see that the fuel pressure is down to 20, let's call it 23 pounds. So when I just turned the engine off, like I'd say 30 minutes ago, it was 45 pounds, 45 pounds. So that just got me thinking, like, I would think it would either, the fuel pressure would go down really quickly or not at all. It'd be like one of those two. And I've noticed some instances where it holds for a few hours, and then sometimes where it goes down pretty quickly, like this time. So it's got me thinking that I've got a fuel injector that's been leaking by. And that's got me afraid, you know, you're gonna have a bad start. Could potentially have some misfires, backfires, things like that. I haven't experienced that, but you know, obviously having fuel sitting there on your cylinder or on your piston and washing down your cylinder walls, things like that, not good for startup as far as damage to your cylinder wall, piston, other things. There's probably other things I'm not aware of or thinking of that it could damage. So all that said, that got me wanting to do this project, go ahead and get some injectors that I know are gonna be solid injectors. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start on the job. All right, we've got pretty much all the air intake plenum off and the throttle body. Done it more than 100 times probably. Still kind of tough. There are like 2 water lines under there. So maybe you want to put something underneath if you don't want to make a big mess. I'm just going to spray my driveway off. Didn't really mean to make that big of a mess, but there is going to be some coolant that comes out, and then you'll have to yeah, put some back in. Not sure if I have any. This distilled water should work too. It won't dilute it too much, because I bet I only lost a quart. Another thing I noticed when I took the air intake plenum off, I thought I smelled a little gas. We're down to 0 pounds for whatever. Don't know what that is. I took the vacuum off the fuel regulator, pressure regulator, which we're tapped in, yeah, right downstream of the fuel pressure regulator. So maybe it was holding vacuum. You know, that could be what it is the fuel pressure regulator is potentially not holding a vacuum. Could be a check valve. That could be very natural. Hit me up in the comments if you've got any experience about, or if you have the same setup and you know how long it typically holds pressure. Anyway, we're gonna start by disassembling the fuel pressure regulator and the pressure gauge, and then go from there. Start taking the fuel rail off, the connectors, and then the fuel rail bolts, and yeah. So I got the fuel pressure regulator off. There's a little gasket here, so it takes some wiggling to get that off. Worried about that. When I say gasket, it looks just like this right here. So I wish I had another one because I feel like that one is got damaged a little bit, but we'll see when I put it back together. Just wanted to slow down a bit here because show you what all you got to take off. So there's a little 10mm bolt here. Get on that 10mm bolt here. Let me make sure I got this. When you're using these impact wrenches, or not wrenches, but drivers, you want to make sure you're going the right way and not hammering it on there. Yeah, like I said, it's always wise to make sure you're rotating the right way before you start trying to take something off. One thing I always do is put bolt or nut back where it came from. That way that's just less stuff you have to keep track of. Yeah. So I've already taken 2 of these fuel injectors off. Got one more sensor below here. Must have broke off the clip on that one, because it came off fairly easy. Luckily you put a little grease on these and they're tight enough that I've not had any problems. There's a camshaft position sensor. You name it, there's so many sensors on this head. That one below was probably it's got another, I think that was either the crankshaft or knock sensor. Yeah, I won't try to focus on the sensor names. I think I went over those in my other video. Gets slippery with gas and probably not too much oil on this engine. So I've gotten 3 of these out. This fourth injector is the pain in the butt. Not getting the clip off, but getting everything in straight. Got the clip off. I think I'm gonna have to get this guy out of here. put it on time lapse. What ended up working is just taking these pliers and so I pried screwdriver against the sensor itself, and then the plug kind of tilted it that way, but I took these pliers and that'll work good to get it to pop off. But I hate using pliers because you can really damage your plugs pretty easy because you just don't have the finesse you would have with your hands. All right, next we're going to take these two 12mm stops. That holds the fuel rail down. It's super loose now. That looks like about all what I need to do here. What I want to do is work one of these off. Fuel going everywhere. Let's see if I can see this in the camera here. What I might do is get where I got some more light. Because what's the deal is here. Out here. Let's see if you can see this. Yeah, that's much better. You can see I've only got what looks like 4 holes there. So I was told the cheap knockoff rebuilds injectors, you only got 4 holes like that. Hoping these will work because they're significantly different. But you can see on the new one, get to focus, there's a bunch of little holes on that one. It's quite a bit of different design. Should have mentioned this at the beginning of your video, but have your fire extinguisher right next to you in case something happens. Probably most likely to happen when you start everything back up. So what we're going to do here, quit hitting the camera, is just put a little bit of grease around here, like so. That'll help it slide in there and not rip any of these seals. And then you just press it in firmly. I'm gonna do all 4 of those and then report back how it went. Oh, you also want to, before we put the fuel injector rail on, we're gonna want to put some right around here on that seal. I think that's the 2 that need lubricant on it. This is synthetic grease with silicone. Yep, from superlube.com. So another thing I want to mention, they did mark there's a code number on them. Mine was 153, 154, 155, 156. And they said injector number 1 is 153. So I just kept 153, 154, 155, 156, so it would line up in case I have any issues. That'll help me keep track of it. Just gonna put a generous amount of lubricant on these seals here before I try to. This is about the toughest part, really, is trying to get the rail back on squarely without damaging any of these. Ask me how I know. Get it back into place here. It's real tough to line it up without messing one of these up. Want to just make sure you really got them all kind of seated, especially that number 4. He's a booger. Uh-oh. And it wants to teeter-totter for some reason. And I would rather it kind of teeter-totter. Good now. I got them all seated. Get your 12 millimeters, tighten down the head here. Keep getting a lot of water coolant coming out. I don't think these really go on that tight. Wish I had the numbers in front of me. I know I've gotten another video. It might be 14 foot-pounds or something. But yeah, you want to go kind of back and forth. Snug. And I would just put it snug. I mean, there's little grommet there that gives it on both sides, really gives it some cushion, but yeah, we'll just get it snug and then we'll be good. Just check and see that everything looks solid. I'm gonna go get some lithium grease. Could use that super lube. I think I'm gonna get some other stuff. Put it on all the connectors. I like having them nice and loose. Okay, what I've decided to do here is, since this little gasket, it seems to be pretty flattened out, I think I'm gonna take it off. Hopefully the ones on the old injectors are the exact same fit. Gonna pause it and do this somewhere not in the air. So yeah, I just switched the gasket there, and it was a good move because this one's got a lot more life left in it. And yeah, put some lube on it and I'm gonna stick it on. All right, got everything back together, so I'm gonna let it sit for a while, and then I'm gonna fire it back up and see how it runs. Let any kind of fumes, gas dry. As you can see, it's nighttime now, and you can see that never finished this project to get rid of these LEDs or replace them with better LEDs, so I have a whole dash here. What I do have is my trusty fire extinguisher with me, just in case things don't go well. I think what I'm gonna do is just like bump the engine and see if I can turn that all the way down. See if there's any leaks, you know, instead of going full blast. Turn all the volume down here. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and do that. Again, I don't hear any priming of that fuel pump. So I think it doesn't get power until you actually turn it on. So we're gonna try to turn it on and then go from there. Okay, something it doesn't like. So for some reason it's not wanting to start. But it is interesting that it's like it did prime, even though I didn't notice it. I mean, we're at 30, I'd say 33 pounds. It is still lowering the pressure though. Anyway, I got to troubleshoot. It's probably the cam sensor, crankshaft, knock sensor, something like that. It's not clipped in. I'm gonna check all the sensors. All right, we're gonna just give it another try. I don't know what sensor is not connected. All right, let's see if this thing will start up. We're actually a couple days later from when I started the project. Had some gremlins where it wouldn't want to even turn over, but I think something was just not connected. Idling pretty smooth compared to past startups, but we'll just have to see if it stands this test of time and runs better. I'll put some more videos together and have a little update, see that it does start better and some of the issues go away. All right, here's the second day of starting it up, and this is where it really struggles usually, is on the start after being down for one day. You see, I don't know if I should have taken a video before. Like a lot of times it would just sputter and kind of have some erratic idling right then at the startup. So I'm gonna keep track of it for a few days here, and everything goes well, I'm going to conclude that I recommend not buying the GB remanufactured or pretty much anything off Rock Auto. I don't know if they have ones that are decent or not, but as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the Denso ones from 50 Motorsports seem to be working pretty well. All right, we're gonna do another start here. This is about the 4th or 5th one. Let's see if it goes smoothly. Yep, smooth as butter. I'll go ahead and say that changing those injectors fixed the problem of having this erratic startup and stumbling that I would experience on occasion. It was kind of erratic. Anyway, hopefully there wasn't any more damage done due to the less than idea fuel injectors. Another quick point I want to make of great interest to me is that the fuel pressure still, over a matter of minutes to hours, drops down to zero. I want to see any of you other 3RZ owners, could be a 2RZ, even the V6 I'd be interested if your fuel pressure is dropping after you turn the vehicle off. And it might just be certain year models do that, but I thought it had to do with that was the problem, and that was leading to the rough starts. But I think it appears that that's normal, because I'm having pretty good starts now, even with the fuel pressure going to 0 after a couple of hours or whatever. All right, so post down in the comments what you've experienced with your vehicle. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just summarize what we learned here from changing the injectors, going from the GB remanufactured injectors to some Denso injectors from 50 Motorsports. Done over a dozen startups now, and they're all very smooth compared to what I had before. And it just feels like the whole engine just runs smoother through all the RPM range. Haven't done a 0 to 60 test to see if that time has gotten better, but I may do that at a later date. So anyway, that would be my recommendation, is stay away from something remanufactured, especially from Rock Auto. Nothing really against Rock Auto. I just think that's who they carry. There's probably some other brands that are better. But again, look for that telltale sign at the end where you only have 2 to 4 holes versus a bunch of small perforation holes. That's to me a telltale sign of a inferior injector. So anyway, that's going to be the end of it, and I'll keep updating with videos if something happens, something gets worse or better or stays the same. But I'm feeling pretty positive for now that it's going to be a lot better. Thanks, peace out.